Hi. It evaporates silently until one day you realize the glass is empty and you don't even remember the moment the last drop was gone. The first real crack between us wasn't about romance or even sex. It was money. Claire had always liked nice things, but I didn't think of her as reckless. When we first moved in together, she managed the bills. She liked doing it, said it made her feel in control, and I trusted her completely. I was making decent money at my job in logistics management, and she was working part-time as a dental hygienist. Together, it was enough. But then came her obsession with upgrading. First it was little things, nicer clothes, expensive candles, random Amazon packages that stacked up at the door. Then bigger ones, new furniture, a brand new car when her old one was barely 5 years old. She framed it as investing in our lifestyle, making the house a home. I wanted her to be happy, so I let it slide. I didn't know until much later that she had opened a credit card in her name, one she never told me about. By the time I found out, it already had over $15,000 on it. I discovered it accidentally, sorting through some mail she had left on the kitchen counter. I asked her about it, and she brushed it off, saying she had it under control. She even laughed, like it wasn't serious. But it kept me awake at night. That was around the time she started working more hours. At least, that's what she told me. Late evenings, extra shifts, sometimes even weekends. She said we needed the money, and I believed her. I thought she was finally taking the financial strain seriously. But looking back, I should have known something was wrong, because her paychecks never seemed to add up. I'd ask where the money was going, and she always had an answer ready: paying off the credit card, helping her younger sister with tuition, saving for a future trip. But no matter how much she claimed to be paying down, the debt never shrank. If anything, it grew. It wasn't until months later, after I noticed her late shifts always ended with her coming home in clothes that didn't smell like a dental office, that I started to piece things together. And when I finally learned the truth, it hit harder than the debt ever could. She wasn't just cheating on me emotionally or physically. She was doing it for money. She wasn't sleeping with her boss out of passion or some starry-eyed connection. She was doing it for money. The way I found out still makes my stomach twist. I logged into our shared laptop one evening to check my bank account, and her email was still open. Normally, I wouldn't pry. I'm not the jealous type, but the subject lines caught my eye. Transfer complete. Invoice attached. Dinner tonight. It was too strange to ignore. I clicked, and what I saw didn't even feel real at first. There were messages between her and a man named Victor. I knew the name vaguely. He was the regional manager of the dental chain she worked for. But these weren't work emails. They talked about arrangements, about how he'd covered one of her credit card bills directly, about how he liked spoiling her. And then, in one of the shorter messages, she thanked him for taking care of her in every way. My chest actually felt tight, like someone was pressing down on it with a cinder block. I scrolled through months of back and forth, bank transfers, receipts, notes about hotels she claimed were training seminars, and hidden among all of it, little confessions. I don't know what to do without you helping with the debt. Alex doesn't even suspect. That last one made my hands shake so hard I could barely keep scrolling. The betrayal wasn't just that she slept with him. It was that she sold pieces of our marriage. She traded intimacy and loyalty for cash and debt relief, like our vows had a price tag she could negotiate. When I confronted her, she didn't even deny it at first. She just cried, begged me to understand how desperate she felt. She said the debt was crushing her, that she didn't know how to tell me the truth about how bad it had gotten. And then she said the words that made me question everything. I did it for us. For us. As if screwing her boss and taking his money was some kind of twisted act of teamwork. I couldn't even look at her. I packed a bag that night and stayed at my brother's place. She blew up my phone with texts, voicemails, long paragraphs about how it was a mistake, how she only meant to do it once, how she lost control. But the emails told a different story. It wasn't once. It was dozens of times. And not just for help. There were gifts to jewelry, designer bags, trips I never knew about because she said they were conferences. Every memory I had of her late nights and extra shifts now felt poisoned. Every dollar we fought about, every moment I blamed myself for not earning enough, it was all a lie. When the shock wore off, anger came rushing in, hot and relentless. I wanted answers, but every time she opened her mouth it was the same cycle of tears, excuses, and manipulations. It was never about love, Alex. He meant nothing. I was just scared about the debt, but I wasn't stupid. It wasn't only about debt. She liked the money, the gifts, the thrill of being treated like she was living some luxury lifestyle. I saw the receipts: $3,000 handbags, weekend getaways at resorts I'd only ever seen online. She didn't look desperate in those photos she'd stupidly saved. She looked happy, carefree, like she'd stepped out of the life we built together into a shinier, more glamorous one funded by betrayal. I went to see a lawyer. Sitting in that office, I felt like a fraud. 36 years old, shaking hands, explaining that my wife had turned our marriage into some twisted financial arrangement with another man. The lawyer was calm, professional. He asked me about joint accounts, assets, debts. That was when I realized just how deep the hole went. The credit cards weren't just hers. Somewhere along the line, she'd added my name to a joint line of credit without even asking. Legally, I was tied to nearly half of the debt, over $40,000, and that didn't include the mortgage. The lawyer told me straight, if we divorced, we'd have to divide assets and liabilities, and unless I could prove fraud, some of her mess was going to stick to me. It felt like being cheated twice, first out of loyalty, then out of financial security. I confronted her again, this time with the lawyer's words still ringing in my head. She begged me not to go through with it. She promised she'd pay off the debt herself, swore she'd never see him again. She even handed me her phone, like that would erase the screenshots burned into my memory. I asked her one question: if he hadn't been giving you money, would you still have slept with him? She didn't answer. She just stared at the floor, and that silence told me everything I needed to know. I filed the divorce papers the next week. The process was slow, ugly, and humiliating. She fought me on everything: half the house, half my retirement, even the dog. It wasn't about love anymore, it was about leverage, about clawing for whatever scraps she could get. Her lawyer painted me as controlling, as someone who pressured her into bad financial decisions. Meanwhile, I sat there with a folder full of evidence, her emails, transfers, receipts. Watching her try to twist the narrative was like watching a stranger. The worst part, the debt still followed me. Even after proving parts of it were solely hers, I walked away with nearly 20 grand of liability attached to my name. 20 grand for her secret dinners, her hotel rooms, her designer dresses she wore for another man. It's been months since the divorce was finalized, but every time I make a payment toward that debt, it feels like I'm still paying for her betrayal. Life after the divorce didn't feel like freedom. It felt like limbo. I thought walking out of that courtroom would bring closure, but all it really gave me was paperwork and a new address. I rented a small apartment on the edge of town, the kind of place that still smelled faintly of cigarettes from the last tenant. Half my stuff didn't even fit inside, so I sold what I could and shoved the rest into storage. Starting over at 36 wasn't romantic. It was humiliating. Every month, the bills arrived like clockwork: rent, utilities, and then that looming payment toward the debt I never asked for. I'd stare at the balance, watching the numbers shrink at a snail's pace, and it felt like a leash around my neck. 20 grand isn't the kind of debt you just shrug off. It eats at you, reminding you every single day of the mistakes that weren't even yours. Friends tried to help. My brother invited me out for beers, told me I dodged a bullet, said I should be glad I didn't have kids with her. And logically, I knew he was right. But logic doesn't fill the silence of an empty apartment. Logic doesn't stop you from scrolling through old photos at 2 in the morning, wondering how a woman who used to fall asleep on your chest could end up betraying you for gift cards and wire transfers. What haunted me most wasn't just that she cheated, it was the transaction behind it. She didn't fall in love with someone else. She didn't have a drunken fling she regretted. She calculated my worth in dollars and found me lacking. She put a price on her loyalty, and someone else paid it. I used to think money was just numbers on a screen, a way to buy food, pay bills, maybe save for vacations. But now, money feels like blood, like the currency of betrayal. Every dollar I hand over to the bank is another reminder that love can be bought, and that I was too naive to see the auction happening right in front of me. Dating again feels impossible. How do you trust someone when you've seen firsthand how easily a love you can be traded for dinner receipts and debt relief? I've had opportunities, friends setting me up, women at work showing interest, but the moment money enters the equation, even something small like splitting a check, I freeze. My chest tightens, my mind flashes back to Claire's emails, and suddenly I'm right back at that kitchen table, scrolling through proof that my marriage had a price tag. Sometimes I wonder if she even thinks about me anymore. If she lies awake in the house we used to share, staring at the ceiling, realizing what she threw away. Or if she's still with him or someone else being taken care of, like loyalty is just another bill she can outsource. Meanwhile, I pay, and pay, and pay. The funny thing about pain is that it doesn't vanish. It just changes shape. At first, the pain was sharp, like a blade twisting in my gut every time I pictured her with him. Then it became dull, like a weight pressing down on me every day, making even simple things feel exhausting. Now it's more like a scar always there, faded but still sensitive if I touch it too hard. The debt is still with me, but smaller now. Month by month I chip away at it. Watching the balance shrink has become its own kind of therapy. Each payment is a reminder that I'm cutting ties with her, not just financially but emotionally. She can't take anything else from me. Not anymore. I've learned to live differently. My apartment doesn't feel like a punishment anymore. It's mine, fully mine, and I don't have to worry about hidden credit cards or mystery work trips. I cook for myself. I walk the dog. I even started going to the gym again. These little routines don't erase the betrayal, but they give me a sense of control I didn't realize I'd lost. Do I forgive her? No. Not even close. Forgiveness would mean believing she didn't know what she was doing, and she knew exactly what every dollar meant. But I've accepted it. She made her choices, and I've made mine. Sometimes people on here ask how you move on after something like this. The truth is, you don't move on. Not in the way you think. You carry it. You carry the memory of the betrayal, the financial wreckage, the loneliness. But over time, it stops being a burden that drags you down and starts being a weight you get stronger from carrying. I'm not the man I was before this. I don't see relationships through rose-colored glasses anymore. But I'm not broken either. If anything, I'm sharper now, more cautious, more aware of my own worth. And maybe that's the strangest gift she left me, not the debt, not the scars, but the realization that I can survive being sold out by the person I trusted most. That even when love and money get twisted together in the ugliest ways, I can still stand up, pay my dues, and keep walking forward. So here I am, 36, divorced, rebuilding my life one paycheck at a time. Not a happy ending. Not a tragic one either. Just a man learning, slowly, that survival itself can be enough.